House Democrats released 6 years of former President Trump's tax returns on Friday. It is the culmination of a long battle involving Donald Trump, the House Ways and Means Committee, and even the Supreme Court. The former president fought to keep the records private and is now denouncing the move. Skyler Henry has the details.
Newly publicized tax returns cover the personal and business finances of former President Donald Trump from 2015 to 2020. Congressional analysis reveals the former first family reported more losses than gains in those 6 years. Trump paid only $750 in federal taxes in 2016 and 17, and in 2020, he didn't pay anything after reporting 150 of his business entities listed negative qualified business income. That, combined with losses from previous years, allowed Trump to report $58 million in losses during his final term in office. Congress's nonpartisan Joint Committee on Taxation found multiple red flags in Trump's tax returns, including his carryover losses and deductions tied to conservation and charitable donations. They're also looking at loans to his children that could be taxable gifts. Earlier this month, the Trump Organization was found guilty of criminal tax fraud, but Trump has not personally been charged with any tax crimes.
He's being investigated, as we know, by the New York State Attorney General in this $250 million lawsuit. And there are questions about whether or not, some of the losses that he declared were fraudulent.
In a fundraising video, Trump defended his company and criticized Democrats in Congress for releasing the tax returns he fought for years to keep private.
The seizure of these confidential records was completely unconstitutional.
Mr. Chairman, the Democrat-led House Ways and Means Committee voted down party lines to go public with the tax returns last week after learning the IRS did not do the mandatory presidential audits of Trump during his first 2 years in office and never completed any audits while he served. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
For more on this, CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa joins us now. Robert, I think a lot of people see this and think, I paid more in taxes than that. My producer, Mike Ryan, just said, I think a Starbucks barista pays more in taxes than that. And we know that the Democrats have been fighting along with President Trump at that time and now the former president to release these returns, to get these returns and release it. So now that you're seeing them, what stands out to you?
The number isn't that surprising in the sense of his real estate business and his losses have occasionally throughout the years led to this kind of tax input. Sometimes nothing is given over to the federal government because of his losses. The real issue here, the big picture, is why did it take so long? We have a system where running for president means you have to file financial disclosures, but that doesn't mean you have to file your tax returns. Filing your tax returns has been a norm in presidential campaigns, not a rule. And so we've had a president in recent years, in Donald J. Trump, who did not share his tax returns with the American people. We're only learning about it now after he has left the White House.
Well, and he really wanted to keep his taxes hidden his entire presidency after initially saying that he was going to follow those norms in releasing it to the public, but then said he was under audit. How is he now reacting with the documents being released to the public, the numbers out there, and the information that we've learned about them not actually being under those mandatory audits?
He is, as expected, angry with House Democrats. But it must be noted that while his tax returns are being released at some level today from recent years, his finances remain under investigation in New York. There's ongoing grand juries about January 6th and his conduct, the conduct of his allies. So this is not the end of the story for Trump finances. The Trump finances remain an investigative target for many prosecutors across the country as they think through the Trump Organization, the Trump campaign, looking for how the money was dispersed at both of those entities. That's not to say any crimes were committed, but they are under active investigation. And this House committee is shuttering its role because the Republicans are about to take over the Ways and Means Committee, the Tax Committee in the House of Representatives. But the investigations elsewhere continue.
And Robert, as you said in the very beginning, sometimes successful real estate business people do pay nothing in taxes. That's actually the way that oftentimes our tax laws are written, and that doesn't mean anything about whether or not it's necessarily fraudulent or successful. But does it impact former President Trump's reputation, especially as he's looking to run again potentially in 2024?
This has always been someone who has characterized his finances in his own way. I remember in 2015 when he launched his 2016 presidential campaign, he provided me with a copy of his stated finances, and he claimed he was worth billions and billions just for the value of his name. I remember asking him about that. Where did he come up with that figure? He assured me that was the figure. And this is someone who has always cast himself as a major financial figure. Learning more about his cash flow is really important for his current presidential campaign, as this is someone who wants to return to public office. As we saw with the recent issue with George Santos, the New York Republican just elected to the House, finding out more about public figures, whether it's in the House or running for the presidency, really matters in terms of accountability, in terms of understanding why they're doing what they're doing, how they're funded, how their finances are organized. It remains to be seen whether any Republican rivals of President Trump will take on the former president on this financial front. So far, the Republicans have been pretty quiet in terms of critiquing him about this.
Interesting, that point that it might not be used as ammunition as much by Democrats, but by a potential Republican primary challenger. A very important point. Before I let you go, Robert, I want to talk to you quickly about the January 6th committee. The panel released more transcripts of witness testimonies on Friday, including from Jared Kushner, the former president's son-in-law. What new information have you seen there?
The transcript I'm most closely reading is from Ginny Thomas, the spouse of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Earlier this year, CBS News and the Washington Post broke the news about text messages Ms. Thomas exchanged with Mark Meadows, then the White House Chief of Staff. It's notable that in the Ginny Thomas transcript provided by the January 6th committee, it's a presentation. She's having an exchange with investigators, but it's not necessarily a formal deposition. She does mention in the transcript that she had an exchange in some way with her husband, Justice Thomas, about her frustrations about the 2020 election. When asked for specifics, she said she does not recall specifics of that conversation, but it's notable that she was acknowledging in some way, however casual or informal, we really need to learn more, that she had a conversation with her husband, Justice Thomas, about the 2020 election.
All right, Robert Costa, thank you.